All right, guys, welcome back to Mother's Mysteries Podcast. This is your host, Cece, here with her co-host.
Colleen, hello everybody.
Guys, I'm so excited. We got equipment. We both have microphones now.
Yay.
We're moving up in the world, guys. We have our own equipment. We have special guest in the studio today with us, in the studio meaning the house. My little Mavo's here. And my husband, Todd. He's shy. He won't come say hi. You come say hi. He's coming to say hi, guys. This is exciting.
Hello.
That's my husband. That's my husband.
To be.
That's my husband. We married. No, we don't need all that legal. We married. We don't need all that legal jazz. We married. I'd bring the baby over, but he tried to eat the microphone, so we won't do that. But yeah, so if you guys hear some stuff in the background, if I don't edit correctly, it's just the baby. He's just hanging out.
Just a baby.
He's just a baby. All right. Anything we want to discuss before we dive into this debauchery? This, guys, I'll save my warnings for later. This week's going to be the rough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your week?
It was rough.
Oh, yeah. It's been a week.
At work. It was a rough week at work. Only gonna get better.
I had my emotional breakdown with the baby being one now, so there's that. It has come and passed.
And the other boy going home with me.
Yeah. My other son. If I haven't specified before, we're a blended family. Mr. Todd over there had 3 little boys when we met, and I had 1 little boy, and then we added the baby. So we're a blended family. So my oldest son was with me for the summer, and he just went home. So I'm sad. A little sad, guys. Anyway, no, I'm gonna miss him, but he'll be back. It's only a couple weeks before I see him again. He spent his summer with me. Now he's gonna go on vacation with his grandparents, and then he's gonna come back, and yeah, then he'll start school. Okay. Anyway, motherhood. It's a joy.
Yes, it is.
It really is. I make jokes, but I love my chaos. I wouldn't have it any other way. All right, guys. So, part 3. Sorry, this is drugged out into part 3, guys. I had a lot of stuff to go over, and I didn't realize I was going to drag it out this bad. But part 3 of the FLDS saga, the crimes of Warren Jeffs. This week we're going to wrap it up. I promise you guys we're going to wrap it up, even if this episode has to be a little bit longer. I'm finishing this. I'm not giving this cult any more of my time because we have other stuff to do. On that note, if you guys aren't connected, please go over to the Book of Faces, the Facebook, and type in Mother's Mystery Podcast. We have a group. I have a poll going up there right now where you listeners get to choose what we're going to do next. So,
over there and vote.
Yes.
My vote doesn't count, and I think I'm the only one that's voted.
No, I have a couple. There's a couple other people that have voted, but right now it's a tie between Mae West and Early Hollywood, or the horror of The Wizard of Oz, which is Old Hollywood too. Those are the two they're tied right now. So go and vote. I'm gonna. Oh, well, that's next week's episode, so I'm gonna have to close that vote here soon. So I'm gonna give you guys until Wednesday. We're gonna put this out. You guys will listen to it on Monday. So I'm gonna give you guys till Wednesday evening to vote before I close it down. And if we have a tie, I'll obviously do one week and the one. I mean, we're probably gonna end up talking about all those, honestly. But I was just trying to get your guys' input because 3 weeks of the FLDS and Warren Jeffs, we need something different. So yeah. I tried to pick some lighter subject. I mean, what did I do? I picked Mae West, Noel Hollywood, Renee Breach. Sorry. She's not. She sounds like a beautiful human being. Anyway, the Savior Complex or the 27 Club. If you guys don't know what that is, that one's kind of dark. Or the horrors of the Wizard of Oz is a little dark, but not that bad.
I know what the 27 Club.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a couple people that were like the 27 Club, but if you guys are cool into music and stuff, you'll know the 27 Club, but we could talk about that. But anyway, go vote. Go to our Facebook page and vote. And if you don't have Facebook, which, okay, I'm not going to judge. Please email us at Mother's Mystery Podcast, Mother's Mystery 2025. I'll put it in the description. Sorry, guys. I'll put it in the description of this episode. Email us. Tell us what you want to hear. And you can throw in your own, like, if you don't like my selections, throw in your own. Just tell me. I want to hear from the peoples what you want to hear.
We want to please the people.
I do this for you guys. I already know this stuff. I want you guys to know this stuff. So I want to know what you guys want to know. And I'm okay with learning. Throw me something I don't know. I would love to spend a week working on this and learning. I would love to do a week of research to learn something new. Okay, guys. So, all right. This week we're gonna dig into it. This is the pecs of the crimes of Warren Jeff. So here are my warnings, guys. We're gonna talk about the trafficking of humans. We're gonna talk about the sexual abuse. We're gonna talk about grape. Child brides. We're also going to talk about suicide, and I think that's the worst of it, guys. Just there's my warnings. I'll try to trigger warning before I start talking about it, but I'm just letting you know it's in here. So if that's not for you, you can skip this episode. I'm sorry you wasted 2 weeks already to skip this episode where it gets good, but I mean, I guess it's not good, but
I think all the other ones have been.
This one we're gonna get into it because this is where it gets real bad, guys. Anyway. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into Warren Jeff's fuckery. All right, so where we left off last week, we're in 2002, 2003 era. Brett Jeffs, which is Warren Jeff's nephew, has brought forth his lawsuits claiming that he was sexually abused by Warren Jeffs and another uncle while he went to Alta Academy. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about right now, go back and listen to part 1 and part 2, okay? I'm going to give you a minute, please. There's baby. Yes, go back and listen to part 1 and 2 because I'm not reviewing this time. Okay. Anyway, so Brent Jeffs has come forth with his lawsuit claiming that his uncle and Warren Jeffs and another uncle sexually abused him while he was at Alta Academy for 7 years. The beautiful, amazing Elisa Walls comes forward with her, what is it? Accompaniment to rape charges, because Warren Jeffs never molested her, but he facilitated her rape. So she comes forth with all of her lawsuits, and yeah. So that's what brings the hammer down on Warren. So this starts.
So they started their own Me Too movement.
Yeah, pretty much. They were like, "We're done with this." In the midst of all this, the reason Elisa Wall comes forward is because she has 2 younger sisters that are still in, and they have disappeared. And she is terrified that they are there. I think they're like 10 and 11, or 9 and 11 or something like that. They're young. And they have disappeared, and she has no contact with them. And when they talk to their mother, she doesn't specify where they are. So, Elisa and Rebecca Musser, if you guys remember last episode, I was talking about her book, which, by the way, same stuff from last week. I reread their books and listened to some podcasts and stuff. But go read The Witness War Read by Rebecca Musser and Stolen Innocence by Elisa Wall. Good books. Also, Breaking Free by Rachel Jeffs. That's a good one. That's Warren Jeffs' daughter. Her stories. This man's out gross. Anyway. So, yeah, in the midst of all this, with Elisa coming forward, her 2 younger sisters have gone AWOL. They can't find them. Their mother's not giving them any information. So that's kind of why they push for this, because they hope with bringing this forward that they'll find their sisters in return. Without spoiling anything, I can tell you right now that their sisters don't want to speak to them, which is another sad thing that comes out of this cult. Because when these people leave, their families that stay in don't talk to them. So, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So in August of 2003, Warren Jeffs withdrew from the public eye, even from his own people. And this is also after he does that big edict where he comes in and kicks out 20 of the like high-ranking members of his community. He like kicks them all out with no excuse. That's when he kind of disappears too. So this is after he kicks out those like 20 men. He goes AWOL. He goes on the run. He also brings down that there are no more public church meetings, no more authorized public meetings, no more baptisms were performed for 2 years. Warren taught that because these people, this is Short Creek, the Short Creek community, by the way, because the Short Creek community, they were unfaithful and the Lord was withdrawing from these people. And if I stayed, many of you would be judged and found unworthy. So instead, the Lord withdrew me to give them a little bit more time to repent. That is a quote from his priesthood journals. So I say Warren goes on the run, which he isn't on the run at this time. But he leaves Short Creek community. He kind of leaves them hanging, quite honestly. Now, the issue with this cult is, if you remember me talking about the UEP and the fact that Warren Jeffs had pretty much the entire city of Hilldale in Colorado City in his pocket, he was funneling thousands of, probably close to millions of dollars away from public utilities and stuff like that. So he had quite a bit of cash on hand.
Wait, public utilities.
Warren Jeffs had the
Oh, that's right.
he had everybody in his pocket.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I know I condensed, like, because I just keep saying Short Creek, but it's actually 2 cities. But anyway, he had the Short Creek community in his pocket. The mayor of both the cities was FLDS, the police chiefs, water and utilities, everybody went to church and they all answered to Warren Jeffs.
Yes, sorry. I forgot you said that.
Yeah. So he's funneling money from public offices too.
Oh, wow.
And they never get him on that, but they hint at it in one of his trials, and the mayor at the time shuts everything down and won't answer any more questions. So that's kind of suspicious when you just. Well, he didn't answer any questions anyway, but they were like, do you know where this money went? And he was like, I plead the fifth. And they're like, so are you telling us that Warren Jeffs had access? He was like, I plead the fifth. Yeah. So he doesn't answer any questions in general, but it doesn't make him look any less guilty. Okay.
Right. Sorry.
So, so Warren withdraws from the Short Creek community saying that they're unfaithful and that that God's giving them a little bit more time to repent, but he can't stay there. Anyway, so for the next year, Warren Jeffs spends his time in the lands of refuge, is what he calls them. These are other compounds that he uses his parishioners' money for, probably public utilities. I guarantee money from the UEP that was meant for securing their properties. He uses this to buy other properties. So these lands of refuge are...
The reasoning he gave for disappearing, it's a big red flag to me.
Yeah.
But
you guys are unfaithful and God's going to give you time to repent, but I can't stay here because you need to repent. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to dip and you guys figure yourselves out. And when you're holy enough, I'll come back. Pretty much is what he said.
But again, this is a cult.
This is a cult.
Yeah, I was going to say different religion, but it's not religion.
And again, if you guys haven't listened to part 1 and 2, in part 1, I specify why I call this a cult. We'll discuss this again at the end of this when I wrap it all up. But I discuss in number 1 the qualifications why this is a cult. So yes, he goes on the run and he spends time in Land of Refuge. There is one in Colorado. And there's different levels to these Lands of Refuge because he also sends people to them who need to repent. So this one in Colorado, it says it's R1. I don't know if that's like the worst where you go first, or if that's like where you go before you go back to Short Creek. Or wherever he is. I don't know. Anyway, there's also R17, which is in El Dorado, Texas. We will talk about that. Just hang on to that for a minute. El Dorado, Texas is where he ends up spending a lot of his time because, yeah, I'll just get into YFZ. Okay.
Is that like right on the border? No.
I'm looking at it on a map, and they have an airport and a Shell station and the Wagon Wheel Cafe and a hospital. Okay, so Warren Jeffs is in these lands of refuge. His main one is in El Dorado, Texas. He calls it the YFZ Ranch, which is short for Yearning for Zion. If you remember, their heaven is Zion. So they buy this property. I want to say it's like 13 million for this property because it's a large property
In Texas.
in El Dorado, Texas. It is desert land. It's nothing out in the middle of nowhere.
And he paid that god awful price for it.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that was like all in the end because they make buildings and stuff on it, and they build their Mormon temple on it. Now, this is really exciting for the people, which, by the way, this is like a secretive thing because he's only taking YFZ Yearning for Zion was like, that's where he's going to get away from the people at Short Creek because they're unfaithful. So anybody that came to the YFZ Ranch was like the elite. They were the best of the best. They'd proven themselves. They were holy. They were righteous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using air quotes. So the people who were at the YFC Ranch were the elite, the best of the best. Pretty much the people kissing Warren Jeff's ass the best.
Yeah.
Because ain't nobody holy and righteous in this group. It's just whoever kisses butt and gives more money. Anyway, so YFZ Ranch ends up being where Warren keeps his favorite, most loyal wives. Some of his friends, I guess, if you want to call them. Just anybody who kisses his butt correctly gets to go to YFC Ranch. This is also where we get into a lot of children come to the YFC Ranch without their parents. This is where we get into the grooming stuff because obviously they're closed off from the rest of the world. This is a straight up compound. They are closed off, fenced in. They don't leave for anything, very little. So this is where we really get in, like Alta Academy he groomed, obviously, but the YFZ is like the peak of grooming because they're locked in. He's got children assigned to mothers who aren't their real mothers, but they're the most righteous. They're the elite of the elite. He's got wives there without their husbands because their husbands aren't righteous. He's got husbands there without his other wives because the husband's righteous but the wife's not. That kind of thing is going on. So,
and they're all having relations.
No, not necessarily. Okay. I mean, I'm sure Warren, because this is also in the era where Warren is reassigning families left and right. So I'm sure he's like, I don't like your wife or she's not good enough. So I'm going to take you. You're going to go to YFC. But hey, here's Barbara. She's great. She's here. She's doing everything for the Lord. Let's make this happen. I'm going to assign you guys. And Barbara's got 5 children from Walter, but Walter's not righteous enough. So he's back in Short Creek.
Right.
Yeah, this is the problem we're having. I also can tell you that, well, this happens later on, but this is part of the edict too. I listened to a podcast of a lady who had 9 children. Her and her husband dated, and that was frowned upon. And so they couldn't get married in the temple when they decided to get married. So they had to go to the courthouse and get like an actual marriage and stuff. But he didn't end up getting multiple wives. It was just this guy and his only wife. The interview was with the wife. So she says, this is later on down the line, but this just shows you the mindset. So they were accepting people into the UEP, and you had to like go and interview, and it was, are you righteous? And blah, blah, blah. She had to answer a bunch of questions. So she said they were really nervous about it because if you didn't get in the UEP, you weren't part of the church anymore. Couldn't go to priesthood meetings. So she said her husband didn't get accepted or something. So it was like her and her kids had to go for a separate meeting, and she went and she was just, praying we get into the UEP, because if not, everything's for nothing. And so they go and she said they only asked her one question, is, do you keep sweet? Which I'm going to elaborate on the keep sweet thing, because I feel like I've left that out. And she was like, yes, I do. And he was like, okay. And he shook her hand and they left. And she said 3 days later, they gave us a phone call. And she was like, none of us qualified for the UEP. The only person who qualified was my 9-year-old daughter. And I'm like, what the hell? That was her like final straw, because I guess her daughter was like going to meetings with her sister-in-law or something, because their family got in, but they didn't. And she said her daughter was throwing a fit one day and she's like, I don't want to go live with Aunt so-and-so and blah, 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 blah. And she was like, I threw my hair. She was like, I was doing my hair. She's like, I threw my hairbrush down. And also later on, Warren brings down the edict that men and wife who are married can't have relation anymore. So she was like, we hadn't seen each other for like been in the same room for like 2 years. So she was like, I slam my hairbrush down. I leave the bedroom. I go down to, I think her husband's name is Joe. She's like, I go down to Joe's room and she's like, I open his door and he looks at me shocked. She's like, we're going to talk. I'm done with this. This church is not going to tear my family apart. And like, they leave, obviously. But her husband's like, yeah, I'm with you. Have you seen the internet? Have you seen what's going on with Warren? And like, because they're not supposed to use the internet and stuff. And she's like, we were done. She was like, it took us a little bit to get out, but she was like, we were done at that point. Good. But I was like, yeah, good for them. Anyway, side story. Danya and Joe. That was them. I love them. Okay, sorry. So we're talking about YFC. Oh no, I have to backtrack. The keep sweet mentality. I don't remember if I talked about this. I feel like I haven't. But the FLD, even before Warren Jeffs, had the mantra keep sweet, and it was mostly for women, but it was for everybody, that you weren't supposed to have extreme feelings. So if you were getting emotional, you were told to keep sweet, which is like, shut it down. And for women, it was like, be submissive, smile, do what your husband tells you to. So this is a whole mantra they have, and it really upkicks with Rule Jeffs, because he has it like printed on hats, like, for heaven's sakes, keep sweet. And his big compound in Short Creek has keep sweet down the fireplace, the flue or whatever, the chimney, that's what my brain, the chimney. They used to sell shoes that on the bottom of them said keep sweet, stuff like that. This also goes along with, I know it's not just FLDS, because I have LDS Mormon friends who have the same phrase, but they have a thing called put it on the shelf. So if you have a question or something that clashes with your religion or your teaching, they kind of tell you to put it on the shelf. And with a lot of these interviews that I've talked to, Warren Jeffs was really big about like, oh, you're questioning me, or you're questioning, put it on the shelf. And it's more like, put it on the shelf and forget about it. Don't ask me about that. I'm not, stop.
I hope they bury it.
Yeah, because there's a really good line in Elisa Wall's book where she was like, my shelf finally collapsed and I had to face everything that I had pushed down for all these years. And she was like, and it was really heavy and emotional. And I was like, I bet it was, girl. But it's also like a good, like, her shelf had to collapse for her to be like, I'm done with this. Anyway, go read her book, guys. It's just so powerful. Anyway. So yes, they have the keep sweet mantra. So everybody on the YFZ Ranch is keeping sweet. They've got their shelf. They're not asking questions. They're the best. Warren Jeffs is also very strict on the YFZ Ranch. Only pastel prairie dresses. Your hair has to be so many braids, and you have to have the big poof up front, because that's, I know we kind of glazed over this, guys, but like, the woman's hair is her crown. So like that big, if you guys are following the Instagram page, I put a couple of pictures. They have like a big, like,
80s.
Yeah, like bang, poof.
Yeah.
It's rounded. And they have very long, eccentric braids, like fish braids. Some of the interviews I've listened to, the women are like, oh, it takes us 2 and 3 hours to braid our hair, because, again, they don't cut their hair either, because the hair is their glory. So you've got hair down to your butt, and you're braiding that every day. And Rebecca Musser also says, like, we use so much hairspray. She was like, we're probably responsible for the ozone layer, because the FLDS women use so much hairspray. Because she talks about cutting her hair, and she's like, I'd never used any product but hairspray in my hair. I had no idea how to do my hair because she cuts everything off when she leaves. But anyway. So yes, everybody's the sweetest of the sweet. Everybody's doing everything. Women, only pastel prairie dresses. This is where he like super doubles down on the long underwear thing. Women have to be covered from the tops of their collarbones all the way to their ankles, all the way to their wrists. They're wearing the long underwear under the prairie dresses in the desert of El Dorado, Texas, digging up cactuses because cactuses were a curse on the land, supposedly. So they bought all this they brought all this property in El Dorado, Texas, in the desert, and the cactus is a curse on the land. So Warren Jeffs instructed all the children, by the way, something for them to do was to go dig the cactus.
Wow.
So these poor, I just remember seeing video footage of like pictures and stuff of girls out there fully clothed in their prairie dress, their hair, gloves on. You know, they got the long underwear on under that, and they're digging cactus in the Texas heat.
Hope they have plenty of water.
I don't know, because this also sounds, Warren just started bringing down edicts about their diet. They couldn't have milk. They couldn't eat bread anymore. They were starving. Anyway, not really. I mean, he was bringing it that they were. I think Short Creek was starving because this is also when he starts demanding more and more money from people because they have to funnel it into the YFZ Ranch. So a lot of people that I've listened to interviews are like, your contribution didn't become voluntary, it was mandatory. And he was like, they would call us and be like, okay, Saturday we're gonna have a wheelbarrow at the meeting house, everybody come with your change, fill up the wheelbarrow, you have to have so many X amount of dollars, like. And a lot of families were like, it was hand to mouth, like we were sending every not allocated penny to the church to Warren Jeffs. This also feeds into when he's on the run too, he does the same thing, but it starts with the YFZ Ranch. He's also very secretive too. He doesn't tell people where people are going. So there's a thing that happens with poofers where you would see, like, you're at the store and you see Janet, and then the next day Janet's gone. They just disappear because they're going to the YFZ Ranch, and they can't tell anybody where they're going because the YFZ is for the righteous. So yeah, they had this phenomenon. I hear a lot of people talk about, yeah, well, I was there, and Barbara was a poofer, and she was there one day and gone the next, and we didn't know where she was for months. And
But did they know they were going to
the person who left did. They knew that, like, I mean, I'm sure Warren Jeffs was like, hey, you're good and righteous, come to Texas now. And they would leave because the prophet calls you and tells you you're good and righteous, you're gone.
Right.
But nobody else around them would because everybody else in Short Creek is unworthy.
Wow.
This is a cult, guys. This is a cult. Anyway, Short Creek was funneling in hundreds of thousands of dollars constantly. They would also have big sewing pools where the women would sew dresses and stuff like that, and it would be like a secret shipment, and it would all get sent somewhere. And they weren't told where their contribution was being sent. There's also a lot of families that, like, because obviously they have multiple kids, a lot of these people can and stuff like that, and like it would be required for them to give up their their overage of canned goods. They would have to send all that too, and it would just be like, this is going to a land of refuge, because that's what they called them. So they're like, it's going to the land of refuge, and you would just have to give it up, and it would go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's my word of the day. Wow.
Just all of this. Warren turns his focus to what is called the land of refuge, where the secret communities have been started, and he was building up. David Aldridge had made the purchase of many acres of land in various states. Yeah, David Aldridge is like one of his right-hand men. I think he's the one that made the purchase in El Dorado, Texas, because his name comes up a lot, because his name is on, I mean, it's the FLDS Incorporated, which is another thing. If your church is incorporated, I think we're having issues.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, it's purchased under him, but it's for FLD Incorporated. The Priesthood Incorporation, there's some talk about that. Purchased acreage of land in various states. Warren taught that only his most loyal followers were allowed to go. These locations were for refuge from the storm or the wrath that shall come down from God. Warren claimed in a vision in 2003 that an all-consuming fire from heaven would pour down among the wicked, but these places of refuge would be strongholded in the days of judgment, and there would be no deliverance except for the faithful who would be lifted up. Okay.
Wow.
This is Warren Jeff's prophecy. Hellfires of rain, and only your lands of refuge are only the people in the lands of refuge will survive. Okay. The land of refuge were given secret code names for their locations to not be would not be relevant to Gentiles, unbelievers, or apostates, former members. They were kept secret from faithful followers as well in Short Creek, who were not trained or invited to gather at these lands of refuge. These codes included the letter R standing for refuge. So, oh, here's my list that I was looking for. Okay, so R17 was the YFZ Ranch. R23 was a compound in South Dakota. Pringle, outside of Pringle, South Dakota. 140 acres fenced in, several log buildings, including a massive 15,000 square foot building that was very remote with a 10-mile dirt road to get to it. Holty. Anyway, oh, that's just the two examples they give. Other houses included Roy Aldred's home in Las Vegas, Nevada, Jonathan Aldred's home in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Robert Aldridge. I feel like the Aldridge have a thing going on. They must be the favorite ass kisser of Warren Jeffs. Robert Aldridge in Henderson, Nevada. Sam Aldridge in Henderson, Nevada. Houses in West Clef, Colorado. Shem Jeff's house in the Colorado Springs area. Fort Collins, Colorado. Tom Cox purchased 35-acre secluded ranch outside of Fort Collins. I'm sure he wasn't using it for himself. Nathan Aldridge's house in Castle Rock, Colorado, south of Denver. This is a lot of Colorado, Nevada. There's a home in Wyoming, southern Wyoming. Home and 35 acres on B25 Road, south of Crawford, Colorado.
And I'm sure if y'all wanted to do some research, those little towns, I mean, I've heard of Fort Collins and everything, but
I'm sure those are
Colorado, Nevada, some of those are very sparsely populated.
Oh, I'm sure he did that on purpose. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wyoming, that's a lot of flatland, a lot of. I've heard of Castle Rock. That's outside. That's like a suburb of Denver now, isn't it? Yeah, these are all. I mean, other than Las Vegas, Albuquerque, New Mexico is not very. But we don't know where his home is. It could have been outside. Yeah, These are all secluded for a reason. Okay. Back to YFC. So in the midst, all right, so now we're going to get into the 2008 raid of the YFZ Ranch. Because of, so El Dorado, Texas received an anonymous call saying that there was a young female on the YFZ Ranch under the age of 17 who was pregnant, married, and her husband was beating her. This prompted law enforcement to reach out to the ranch. And of course, the FLDS was like, no, we're not talking to you. So they received quite a few phone calls from this Sarah Barlow. That's what she said her name was. That she was 15, she was married, pregnant, and her husband was beating her. So of course, Child Protective Services, all that good jazz is like, we have to step in. I forgot to mention that this Sarah Barlow character was found to be not real, and they were fake calls. Back to the rest of the cast. Sorry, had to break in with this, guys. So they proceed to get warrants to get onto the ranch property. I have to tell you that this, I don't want to say this religion, this cult, prides themselves on not cooperating with the outside world. So, law enforcement, the government, they don't cooperate. And it's okay to lie to them. And it's okay. Like, they have a lot of food stamp abuse because Warren Jeffs preaches about bleeding the beast, and the government is the beast, and you'll take whatever money and benefits you can get from them because, you're not a part of them, but you're going to take their money type of thing. I don't know. I haven't listened to those, but he's got a whole edict about bleeding the beast. That's taking money, taking help from the government because they're evil and whatever. Anyway, so there's a lot of like food stamps abuse and like social security abuse and stuff like that. There's a whole thing that comes down on his brother Lyle later on about abusing the food stamp system. He goes to jail for a little while. I believe he's back out, but yeah, taking food stamp cards from elderly people and going and buying stuff for their storehouse and not giving it to the elderly people, but buying it with their food stamp card. Anyway, so El Dorado police are preparing to make contact with this group, and they are uncooperative, so they secure warrants. They secure warrants to talk to the husband of Sarah Barlow, and whoever is in charge on the ranch. Child Protective Services of Texas gets a hold of this, and they secure warrants to come in as well and investigate. They end up securing warrants to remove all the children on the property. When they first make contact and they serve their warrants, the bishop on the YFZ Ranch is, of course, uncompliant, and they're asking to talk to girls under the age of 17. And he's like, oh, there's only like 20 girls on the ranch that are under the age of 17. So he puts them in like a schoolhouse on the property, the police and Child Protective Services, so they can do their interviews. And he's like, we're going to go round the girls up. So they don't let anybody look. At this time, the temple is built and there's quite a few houses on the property. And I say that to say because we know that these people are polygamous, so their houses aren't a little 2-bedroom dwelling. It's 20 bedrooms and 2 kitchens, and so this is quite a bit of property. There's quite a bit of buildings on this property. Anyway, they put the law enforcement up in a schoolhouse. They tell them that there's only like 20 girls under the age of 17 there, and they'll get them so they can interview. They are hiding women, obviously. They had to wait for like 3 hours before they talked to anybody. In that time, because they are good investigators, the police department and child services are looking around this school building, and they find journals. And in these journals, they're finding lots of young females who are writing about being married, being pregnant, already having children, dreaming to have children, and they're all under the impression that they're under the age of 17 because I'm assuming Texas 17 is the age of consent. So, of course, when they finally make contact again after several hours and there's only like 3 girls that show up and they're like, this is all we have on the property, which, of course, Texas
Lies.
El Dorado police are like, oh, bullshit. Child Protective Services is like, we want to talk to this girl because we read her journal, and this girl, and Merle. Why is that name sticking out? Merle Jessup. I feel like that's the guy. But anyway, Mr. Jessup, who is the bishop at the YFC Ranch, is like, oh, well, you didn't specify. And they're like, no, every female under the age of 17 is to be in this building. We want to interview them. In the meanwhile, they're scooting girls off the YFC Ranch, obviously, because they know they've been caught.
Mm-hmm.
They also have quite a few people burning documents and shredding things. They say that there's an officer who, when they finally were like, okay, we're done, nobody move, we're gonna do a search, a sweep, house by house, building by building, you're not being cooperative anymore, we're gonna search. They go into an office building, they said, and there's smoke. That's what draws them to it. And they walk in, and there are 3 ladies in a back room with a paper shredder that is on fire because they've been shredding paperwork constantly.
Wow.
So they know they fucked up. Where is Warren Jeffs at this time? Well, all this stuff with Brent Jeffs and Elisa Wall comes down, and he doesn't. I know he's guilty for Elisa Wall stuff. I don't think anything ever comes of Brett Jeffs' lawsuit, which is sad. But because of this, Warren Jeffs is on the run now. It's not just the half-hearted stuff that's got him away from Short Creek. He is fully on the run. So, while Mr. Jeffs is on the run, his favorite wife, Naomi, is with him, and a slew of his brothers come and help him. You think he's on the run and hiding in these lands of refuge. Oh no, he's funneling money away from his people and going to Disney World, going to New Orleans, getting tans, buying Harley Davidson motorcycles that he can't fucking ride, wearing Gentile clothes is what he calls it. But he's living large, put it that way.
Wow.
He's not hiding. He's not suffering. Like he's telling people back in Short Creek and all these other places that I'm in constant agony. I'm repenting for all of your sins. Of course not YFZ because they're perfect, but Short Creek, he said, I'm in constant torment because of the half-hearted is what he calls the people back in Short Creek. And no, he's not. He's at Mardi Gras and he's at Disney World and he's living his best life. Taking all of their money, buying brand new cars, cash. Just living his best life. Bringing some of his other favorite wives out with him, sitting in hotel rooms watching corn movies. I'll be nice about it. No, I'm not. This is my podcast. Screw it. He's watching porn with his wives, which, by the way, if you guys hadn't listened to the rest of this, they don't have any sexual education. A lot of these women don't know what happens on their wedding night. So the fact that he's bringing his wives in and he's like, look at what the Gentiles do. Ew. He's also having heavenly sessions, which we'll talk about in more depth here in a minute. He's having heavenly sessions with multiple wives at once, if that leads you to come to your own conclusion, which is kind of a no in this situation. They're not taught like that, but he's calling it the law of Sarah, which if you all know the biblical, the story behind that where Sarah wants a child so badly and she can't and she lets her husband lay with their servant lady. But they call this the law of Sarah where you get to share your husband with your sister wives. Anyway, I digress.
Wow.
Back to the YFZ raid. So, they're looking for these girls. They're looking for Sarah Barlow in particular because this is where the complaint came from. They want to make sure she's okay. They're not finding her, but they're finding more and more girls. And when they were told there's only like 25, 40 girls on the property, there ends up being 287 minors on the YFZ Ranch.
Wow.
That doesn't include women or men. Because of all this going on and them being so secretive and them finding more and more young girls who are pregnant or with child or have already had children, Child Protective Services is like, nope, we have warrants. All minors on this property are being taken. They're not prepared for so many humans. So they end up busing these people to like the Astrodome or something like that and keeping them there. A lot of the women go voluntarily to be with their children. They're not separated. But a lot of women are like, no. And so 287 minors are removed along with a few women, mothers, go along. Because of this, state of Texas scrambles and they're trying to take these children away, which this is again like the 53 raid, if you guys have listened to everything. There's no real grounds for it. I mean, yes, there's abuse because you have minors marrying older men and having children, but not every child is abused. So, the FLDS loosens the reins a little bit, and to try to get sympathy from the Gentile world, they allow some of the women to go on national TV. If any of you are old enough to remember, which I know I have a few older listeners, they were on Oprah, they were on Larry King, they were on CNN, they were on Fox News. This was a huge thing, this YFC. Um, Rebecca Musser also has a huge section of her book on this because she obviously feels drawn back to her community, but she doesn't want to go. And because of this YFC raid, the police chief of El Dorado calls Rebecca Musser and asked if she can help. And she obviously goes down there and, deciphers because they're interviewing these girls and they're like, "Are you having sex with older men?" And the girls are like, "Oh my God, no," because that's not the word that they use. They have relations with their husband. And so they feel like they're getting nowhere and they're like, "We can't." So Rebecca Musser comes down to be like, "This is how you need to talk to them." She kind of consults and stuff. This is also a side note because I've talked about it. They said they couldn't find their two younger sisters. Rebecca finds her younger sisters. They are at the YFZ Ranch. One of them is a little bit older, not 18, I can tell you that, and she's married with like 3 kids.
Oh, Lord.
And the other one is uh, not married yet, but like on the track to get married, and she's probably 15 by now. This is quite a few years later.
Wow.
Yeah. So, or she's 14. Yeah, because Elisa was 14 when she had to get married, and Rebecca talks about seeing her sister and seeing Elisa's face and realizing that it was going to happen again, and she couldn't do anything because her sisters are still loyal FLDS, and they're like, "You evil woman, how dare you? You came down here. This is all your fault. You're doing this." Sad reality of it. Okay, so the state of Texas is trying to figure out abuse and all that stuff. From what I've heard, nothing really comes out of this whole thing. The parents come forward and they're like, "Oh yeah, she's only 14 and she's married. I gave my consent." So everybody has to be released. They do, however, bring the hammer down because they only will release the children to their birth parents. So this is where Short Creek comes in. All of a sudden, Short Creek knows about El Dorado, Texas, because A, it's been on the news. So I'm sure, I mean, they're not supposed to watch TV and internet and stuff like that, but I'm sure it's seeped in. And then if your child is there and you're not, you're contacted like, "Hey, come pick up your kid." So everybody knows about YFZ Ranch now. They also know about the atrocity that is Warren Jeff's 12-year-old wife. While on the YFZ Ranch, he marries a 12-year-old girl, and he writes in his priesthood journals that she has boy problems. I will become her boy problems. Quote. Just wow. I didn't want to let that sink in, but I couldn't speak after that, guys. There are pictures you can look. I might find one and put it on our Instagram for this episode. Of this little girl sitting in his lap and him kissing her on their wedding day, and she is a child. This isn't a robust. She looks older. This is a little girl. I also say that to tell you that when he goes to court in the end, there is a lovely audio tape of him performing priesthood duties on this 12-year-old girl, and it is played in court, and it's horrific. And not horrific because like she's screaming or she's fighting or anything. It's horrific because he's praying, and then you can hear him breathing, and you can hear her. And then when he's done, he says, "How do you feel?" And she says, "I feel holy." In her little 12-year-old girl voice. Go look it up, guys. If you want to get angry and you want to realize why this bugs me so much, go look it up. You're going to need a drink afterwards, but go look it up. Okay. Because of the YFC Ranch and everything else coming to light of the child brides, Warren Jeffs is subsequently put on. Oh, I have to talk about this too. When they do their search, there is a temple in the YFC Ranch. This is huge for them because even in Short Creek, they didn't have a Mormon temple. They didn't have a temple. They had a meeting house, but they've never had a temple. So on the YFC Ranch, there's this big white. I will put pictures up, guys. There's a big white, beautiful if you guys know any of the Mormon architecture, it is a LDS fundamentalist. It's a, yep, that's, no, there's one where she's like in his lap kissing that. Yep, that one. Yeah, that is obviously a 12-year-old girl. That is not if she looks older. She could, no, that's a 12-year-old little girl. Mal just looked up the picture for reference. But anyway, back to the temple. Okay, so there's a temple on the property. Because of this raid and them doing the searches, they have to search the temple. Obviously, the FLDS don't want that. They try to fight it, but they won't let them in. They lock everything down. So the poor El Dorado Police Department has to, and Texas Rangers, by the way, there were Texas Rangers on property too. They have to break down the huge oak, beautiful, ornate temple doors. In the search of this temple, they find all of Warren's priesthood records, all of the church's records in the basement. They have to jackhammer a safe open, but they find everything. And then in a Mormon temple, every level is like a different celestial kingdom. So like the first level is like earth tones because that's earth. And then the second level is like blues because that's like the sky and that's like celestial heaven number 1. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing because of the religion. I'm laughing because like, anyway. So on the third level, it's all white and it's all pristine because that is the celestial kingdom of God. On the third level of this temple on the YFZ Ranch, they find the temple hadn't been dedicated yet, so it wasn't open, but they could tell that some of the rooms were in use so that some of the room, because before they can use a temple, it has to be dedicated. So they could tell that some of these rooms had been dedicated because they were used. So in this big, white, beautiful room that I'm explaining, they find a bed, and it's like high up on an altar, and there are chairs circling it. And Rebecca Musser is explaining this, and I'm going to use her from her book. Their chairs are different heights to show like different levels. Like if you're a priesthood holder, your chair's a little bit higher than like Fred from down the streets, obviously. So anyway, she said she could tell by the heights of the chairs that some of the like the bishop and stuff had been in the room. She could also tell by some of the chairs, because I guess ladies have different chairs, that some of Warren Jeff's wives, which AKA had been some of her sister wives, because Rebecca Musser was a widow of Warren Jeff's father, Rulon Jeffs. She said she could tell some of her sister wives had been there. And she said, I look up and I could see the bed. And she's like, I instantly knew what this was. She was like, this is where, after you get married, they perform the priesthood bestowing on you, which is everybody gets to watch you become a wife.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, this is a thing. So, yeah. Somebody gets to, some high up people get to watch you become a woman.
No.
Yeah. This is where the recording of Warren Jeff's 12-year-old wife comes in, because it was recorded in that room. Anyway. Okay. I say all that to tell you, because of the YFZ Ranch raid, Warren Jeffs gets put on the FBI's most wanted list, and this is when he is completely on the run. He's dipped out. His answer them nothing edict. He's fully on the run. I believe he's only on the run for a year before they catch him. He's not on the list very long. Okay. So Warren Jeffs has been on the run. You already know he's living his best life, going to Disney, going to New Orleans, watching porn with his favorite wives, being disgusting. Anyway, so on August 28th, 2006, around 9 p.m., Jeffs was pulled over on Interstate 15 in Clark County, Nevada, right outside of Las Vegas. The highway trooper, we don't really need to know his name. Highway trooper pulled him over because the temporary plates on the red '07 Cadillac Escalade, by the way.
What?
Red is Jesus's color. You can't drive a red car. Jesus is gonna be jealous.
When men become gods.
Can't be driving a red car. Jesus is gonna gun him down and say, bitch, that's my color. Anyway, a 2007 red Escalade. The temporary plates were not visible. Once one of Jeff's wives, Naomi Jessup, his favorite wife, and his brother Isaac were with him, Jeffs proceeded. Oh, the trooper says that he pulled them over just to about the temporary tags, and he said, Isaac Jeffs was really cool. Naomi seemed nervous. When he looked in the back and looked at Warren Jeffs, they said his jugular vein was like pulsating, and he was eating a salad, and he's like viciously shaking the salad and like shoveling it in his mouth, and he's like, "Are you okay, dude?" And Warren's like, "Mm-hmm." And they said when they looked at Isaac's license and the name Jeffs, it stuck out in this trooper's mind, which good for him. And subsequently Warren Jeffs was caught because, yeah. Anyway, so in the red Cadillac Escalade, Jeffs possessed 4 computers, 16 cell phones, disguises including 3 wigs, 12 pairs of sunglasses, more than $55,000 in cash.
Wow.
Jeff's wife and brother were questioned and released. This is the one thing I do not agree with, because I watched a documentary series where they interviewed Naomi Jeffs, and she is not sitting in jail with him, and she fucking should be. And I will die on that hill, because she wrote all of his priesthood records. She recorded everything. Her names are on all these documents that come out in court. She never testifies, and she's never brought down for this. She is a fucking accessory. And she should be brought down because she's just as guilty as he is, because she facilitated all this. Anyway, in Nevada court on August 31st, Jeff waived any challenge for extradition, agreeing to be returned to Utah. He faced 2 first-degree felony charges for accomplice to rape. That's from the Elisa Wall case. Each charge carried an impending penalty of 5 years to life in prison. Arizona prosecutors were next in line to try Jeffs. He was held in Washington County Jail pending. In April 2007, on trial for the 2 counts of rape as an accomplice in his role for his arranged marriage between Elisa Wall and her first cousin. He was found guilty for that. So that held him in jail.
Side note, Jeff's 50 initially gave a false name, but later admitted his identity. The agent said both of his companions were released.
Oh, I'm sure he gave a fake name. He was on the run. He was on the
Right.
FBI's most wanted list. He wasn't going to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm Warren Jeffs." So yes, this 2007 trial, right? Yeah, this 2007 trial was from the Elisa Wall case, and he was found guilty for the 2 counts of accomplice to rape. So that's what puts him in jail initially. He's behind bars, not for, I think he got like 20 years for that. No, because this goes on to talk about the other stuff. Yeah, I think he got like maybe 20 years for the Elisa Wall stuff, but that's justice, because she was 14-year-old girl forced to marry her first cousin. First cousin rapes her and beats her. He deserves that. He facilitated that.
What was that?
Oh, this is Warren Jeffs in jail, but it was Elisa Wall's case that got him the 2 counts of accomplice to rape.
Because I'm reading here, the Sarah Hammond, 31, said she suffered incest and sexual abuse as a child in Colorado City and left at 14 to avoid marriage.
No, there's quite a few people that left
Right.
to avoid marriage. I'm sure Elisa wasn't the first. I mean, she ended up getting married and leaving, but she was just the one that got the ball rolling on Jeffs. In May and July of 2007, Jess was indicted in Arizona on 8 counts, including sexual misconduct with a minor and incest. I think this is the Brett Jeff stuff. But this could be some of the YFZ Ranch. No, because he has a whole nother trial in Texas. Okay. So he's already been convicted for the Elisa Wall, the 2 counts of accomplice to rape. In St. George, Utah, he goes to trial in September of 2007 for sexual misconduct with a minor and incest. This, I believe, states from the Brett Jeffs allegations. Jess was housed in Utah's Purgatory Correctional Facility in solitary confinement for the duration. In September 25th, Jeff was found guilty of 2 counts of being an accomplice to rape. We already knew that. He was sentenced to prison for 10 years. 10 years for the 2 counts of accomplice to rape. Began serving his sentence in Utah State Prison. In July of 2010, the Utah Supreme Court cited deficient jury instruction, reversing Jeff's conviction and ordering a new trial. The court found that the trial judge should have told the jury that Jeffs could not be convicted unless they could prove that he had intended for Elisa Wall's husband to engage in non-consensual sex with her. Well, of course he did. She was supposed to go home and submit to her husband whether she liked it or not. He knew what was going to happen. He's a dirty dog. Okay, sorry guys. In August 2011, Jess was convicted in Texas on 2 counts of sexual assault of a child and sentenced to life in prison. He will be eligible for parole on July 22nd, 2038. So, because of the YFZ raid and his marriage to 12-year-old girls and probably other younger girls, he was convicted. Only 2 counts of sexual assault of a child. Sad. He was never fully convicted for the 12-year-old marriage because that girl is so indoctrinated, she refused to testify. And the FLDS hid her. Like, they took her out of Texas and put her in these lands of refuge and hid her, and they could never make contact with her again. So, we have a little bit more to talk about, guys. But I'm going to wrap this up. I might do a bonus episode and talk about some Short Creek stuff that I want to talk about. But let's wrap this up with Jeffs. While in prison, Jeffs goes on lengthy hunger strikes. He claims that there are spiritual reasons for this, but he emaciates himself to where he ends up in the hospital wing. He also is still in full control of the church. He has people come in with recording devices, even though they're not supposed to, and he records revelations, and the people take them back to Short Creek and play them for everyone. He is still in full control of this community. This is still a cult that's going on, guys. His brother, Isaac Jeffs, was like the liaison leader of the FLDS. He was put in prison in 19 for food stamp fraud. I told you about that with the bleeding of the beast and stuff like that. But I think he's out again. Yeah, he's still. This is where we get into married couples can't be together anymore. Nobody can have kids. No new members. There's only like a council of 12 men who are seed bearers. So if you want to get pregnant, you have to write to Warren Jeffs, and he waits for God to tell him if that's okay. And then these men come and sleep with your wife and hopefully impregnate her. And if so, then that's God's will. But if you're not one of the 12 seed bearers, you can't impregnate your wife. This is the kind of shit that's going on, guys. The crazy cult shit doesn't end. So I'm kind of at a loss, because it doesn't end. It's not like this group is done and his crimes are over. He's sitting in prison for life now. He can't get out until 2038. But he's still in full control of this group. There are still believers. The Short Creek, the Hilldale, Utah, and Colorado City, Arizona is still an FLD community. There are still people in this community that believe that Warren Jeffs was framed and that all of this audio and stuff like this was just the government did this to set him up. He's a martyr for his religion. Ow. This is the sad part. This is where I wanted you guys to be open because, these people are so indoctrinated and so deep in this that they can't see past actual evidence in front of them. And I listened to an interview with a lady who's still, very much active, still believes in Warren Jeffs, and they were talking about the young girls, and she was like, well, if she got married at 12, it was because she was holy and righteous, and because that's what God wanted. And they were like, Well, there was never anything of that because the girls would never testify because nothing was wrong with it. That was a holy thing. Like, just completely completely indoctrinated, and it's very, very sad.
And I was reading this, Rodney Parker, a Salt Lake City attorney who has represented church members and has been their frequent guest since 1990. Parker, who is not a church member, said Jeffs was targeted as a proxy to destroy this religious movement, but predicted his arrest would have little effect on Jeff's followers. And he said the opposite will happen. He said the people will rally behind him, but alleged victims of Jeff's and the FLDS applauded his capture.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still going on.
Yeah. He's still abusing these people. He gets thousands of dollars of commissary in jail. I mean, I'm not going to be able to get into it, guys, because I want to wrap this up. But the UEP, the United Effort Plan, all of that comes crumbling down, and he gets more charges slapped on him for abusing that. And now people who are not FLDS, who are not a part of the church, run that. And that's a whole nother thing in Short Creek, is that there's a whole big uprising because people who have left the church, because the UEP isn't run by the FLDS anymore, people who have left the church are like, hey, I miss my community, I miss my friends, I still have family around there. They want to come back into the community, and they can get houses cheap because the UEP is still running, but it's running properly now. Like, you can apply for a house, you get a house, you pay your taxes every year, you sign their lease agreement, you get a house, which is what it should have been when the church ran it, but they abused it. There was big lawsuits with the police department, and in 2016, I believe, they held their first election where there were non-FLDS running, and they won. So for the first time, Hilldale has a non-FLDS mayor. So that was a big thing. I listened to a podcast about that, and it was really good. And she was a female who won too, which is even, she's ex-FLDS, she's a female, and she's not a part of the church. That was like huge. So there's still drama going on around this, guys. This cult did not die because their leader's in prison. If anything, it made him a martyr for his cause and just cemented the rest of those believers. If you guys want, I could do like a bonus episode where I talk about the UEP stuff and everything, but we're not going to get into that now because the 3 weeks is long enough, guys. I put enough energy into this dirtbag. Don't need to do any more. Yeah. I just want you guys to remember that the people who are still in are human, and they were raised like that. And I'm not saying they're great people, but I'm not saying that they're awful humans because they believe what they believe. They're indoctrinated. You know, I feel for the victims who never got justice. That hurts me that there are so many victims who were either went on silently, just got out and went on silently, or that came forward and got told that there's never going to be justice. That upsets me for them because they deserve to see justice. I feel awful for probably the hundreds of children he abused at Alta who aged out and can never seek justice for that. I feel bad for probably the ones that are silent because they feel ashamed, who might still be in the church, who might have got away, but are just ashamed of what happened, so they're quiet. I feel bad for the people who get out of this community because there's a whole psychological thing that happens when you leave a cult. And I feel really sad for them because what I've read, it's really hard for them. It's a huge adjustment. They grow up closed off from the world, and then they're thrust into it and have no idea. Yes, what the little one said. Okay. I'm going to read my little closer. Warren Jeffs may be in prison, but the scars of his reign remain etched on the lives of the thousands. To the survivors who spoke out, you were heard. To the listeners, to my listeners, stay aware, stay compassionate, question authority when they try to silence your vulnerability. Also, if you, oh wait, I can't end yet. I got to go back to my cult stuff. Guys, I can't leave you hanging with the cult thing. Okay. 2 minutes, guys, I promise. I'm gonna break down the cult stuff. All right. All right, so the reason this is a cult, guys, from Rick Ross, cult expert himself, not the rapper, Rick Ross, the cult expert. Rick Ross, yeah. Okay, so charismatic leader. I think Warren Jeffs fits that edict. I don't feel like this became that much of a cult until Jeffs took over because that's when all the craziness happened. I feel like it was a religious group before that, but I feel like the culty behavior happened when Warren Jeffs came. Oh no. So number one, a charismatic leader who increasingly becomes the object of worship. I can't English. That was Warren Jeffs. It became less and less about God and doing the work and more take a knee to me, bow down to me. I am Warren Jeffs. Do this because of me. I am God's mouthpiece on earth. Yep, he fits that. Second point, process of indoctrinating and educating those around you. Brainwashing. Alta Academy, YFZ Ranch, no outside books, no internet, no TV, yep. A plus 100, check that box. He indoctrinated his community. Economically, sexually, exploitation of group members by the leader or the ruling parties. Yep, straight up did that. I want your money. I want your women. I want your girls. Bleh.
Because they're holy.
There's a whole thing in here about cult history has evolved and blah, 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 blah. They talk about the 7-day Advent, and then the Mormon church founded by Joseph Smith is another. And I'm like, maybe not the whole Mormon church, but anyway. Absolute authority without any meaningful accountability. We talked about that too. You didn't question Warren Jeffs. You didn't, yeah. He ticks that box too. No tolerating of questions or criticism. Yep. No meaningful financial disclosure regarding budgets, expenses. He did that to the T. Didn't tell people where their money went, took it all, and went on the run. Unreasonable fears about the outside world, such as impending cataclysms and evil conspiracies. Every time he tried to prophesy and say that the world was going to end, every time he played the 53 raid card, every time he turned around and played the YFZ raid card, just instilling fear in the outside world and his believers. Yep. No legitimate reason for leaving. All former followers are wrong for leaving and negative or evil. They were all apostates. They were all dying. If you left, they were going to go to hell. You couldn't talk to them anymore after they had left because they were going to drag you down to hell with them. He ticks that box. Followers feel that they're never good enough. The whole Short Creek thing where he was like, you guys aren't holy anymore. I'm going to go to my lands of refuge. YFC Ranch is now holy. That ticks that box too. The leader or the group is always right. Warren Jeffs. The leader of the group has an exclusive meaning or knowledge of the truth and is never validated for anyone else. This was Warren Jeffs. There's my reasoning why I called it a cult. I hope if you guys have listened this far that you believe, that you agree that this was a cult. Do you believe? Do you agree, Colleen?
It's a cult.
It's the cult. Hey, Todd. Do you think it's a cult? Yeah. Yeah, Todd thinks it's a cult too. Hey, Stinker, Maverick. He's watching Miss Rachel. He's not going to talk to me. I was going to see if he'd say yes.
Maverick, is it a cult?
He's watching his favorite Miss Rachel. Okay, so I know this has been a long 3 weeks, guys. I'm sorry. Thanks for riding the wave of evil. I'm sorry it took 3 weeks to get through this. Yeah.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, you guys go have a drink, guys, or go decompress.
And it's just like we've scratched the surface.
Yeah, like I said, I can do a whole nother bonus episode. I'll put it up on the Facebook page for you guys to discuss and tell me, because I don't want to put energy into something that nobody's going to listen to. But I would gladly do like a second episode talking about the UEP breakdown and Short Creek now and stuff like that. Because there's still stuff going on. He's still prophesizing. He wrote a book while he was in prison and had it published in like, it didn't sell, but he had thousands of copies, so he would like send them to like senators and congressmen and fucking crazy. The craziness is still going on. So like there's a little bit more to discuss. Like this is it in a nutshell, but I could go on if you guys wanted more. So I'll put it up on the Facebook page. You guys can tell me if you want a bonus episode where we talk about like Short Creek now. Because there's a lot going on there too that's not like strictly FLDS related. So all right, guys, that's the end of my case. Follow us on the Facebook Mother's Mystery Podcast group. We are on the Instagram Mother's Mystery Podcast, where you can listen to us. Apple Podcast, Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. Simplecast is our kind of my homepage. So simplecast.com/Mother's Mysteries. Ta-da! You can find us there. In the description of this episode, I'm going to put our email address just in case you all don't know.
The tubes. Can they find us on the tubes?
Yes, we're on the YouTubes. I put out a video every week coinciding with our episode. It's just audio and our logo screen, so don't think you're going to go in there and see our ugly faces. My ugly face, Ma's beautiful.
Someday.
Maybe if we get a studio. Maybe if we get a studio, we'll do video. But yeah. So thank you guys for listening. I know this was a lot. I feel so much better because this has been weighing on me, but like, ugh. I need a shower now, guys. I feel gross.
Dirty.
Yeah. I recommend, but I don't recommend going on YouTube and looking up the priesthood records videos. Him making his 12-year-old wife a woman. That audio will haunt you.
Disgusting.
Yeah. All right, guys. I don't have anything else. I think we've done enough. You guys probably need to like sit back and decompress and figure out your lives now after this. Where to go after this? So I'm done. What about you, Colleen?
I'm done.
Got any parting words of wisdom?
Stay safe.
Stay kind. Be good humans. Don't join cults. I mean, do if you really want to, but don't.
Be sweet.
Keep sweet.
Keep sweet.
Put it on the show. Keep sweet. Ugh. I feel gross saying it. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. All right, I'm done. You guys are awesome. Follow us on all of our stuff. Keep listening to us. You guys get to pick next week's episode, so please go over to Facebook and join our poll. Tell me what you want to hear. All right. CC out.